Mr. Charles. All right, welcome everybody, and thank all of you for coming here. We have a lot of wonderful supporters and stakeholders standing behind us, and so I want to welcome them all here. Councilmember at Large Clarkson, Council Members Palmer and Guidry are with us, Representative Jared Brosette. If I miss anybody, I apologize, but I'm going to try to get most, if not all of you. Mark Romig is the President and the CEO of the New Orleans Tourism and Marketing Corporation. Mr. Darrell Berger, who's the chairman of the New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation. Fred Sawyers, chairman of the New Orleans Convention and Visitors Bureau. Melvin Rodrigue, who chairs not only the Louisiana Restaurant Association, but is the president of the Montreal New Orleans Exhibition Hall Authority. Tony Rice, Multicultural Tourism Network. Mr. Bill Aaron, who besides being one of our great lawyers and ex-city attorneys, is the chairman of the New Orleans Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Henry Coxum and Mr. Rod Miller, both representing the New Orleans Business Alliance. Mr. Nolan Rollins, who, as you know, is the chairman of the Aviation Board and president and the CEO of the Urban League of Greater New Orleans, which is bringing their national convention to New Orleans later this month. So I thank you so much. Iftikhar Ahmed, who is helping us redesign and rebuild Great New Orleans International Airport. Mr. Michael Smith, from the Hyatt Hotel, who just put on one of the biggest things that's ever happened in the city of New Orleans. Michael, that was a big thing, and we thank you for that. Todd Chambers, the general manager of Roosevelt and president of the Greater New Orleans Hotel and Lodging Association. Earlene Roth and Mr. Charles Toubre, my dear friend, an advocate for accessible taxicabs. Deputy Mayors Andy Copland and Michelle Thomas. Mr. Malachi Hull, who came to us from Atlanta to help us rethink and reorganize ground transportation in the city of New Orleans. Mr. Cortizes, who's our city attorney. Scott Hutchinson, who is the mayor's advisor on the cultural economy, and various and sundry other dignified guests are with us today. We're here today to talk about transforming and reforming ground transportation in the city of New Orleans in the context of building a world-class hospitality and sports destination industry in the city of New Orleans. Many of you will recall that when I was a lieutenant governor, a lot of the individuals standing in this room worked with me, again with Melvin's leadership and many other people here and Fred, to commission a BCG report that outlined how New Orleans can continue to stay on the top of the list in terms of sports entertainment destinations. We have as a goal 13.7 million visitors by 2018, which is our tricentennial celebration. In that report outlined some assets that we had, some liabilities that we had, some dissatisfiers that we had, but it basically laid out a master plan for the hospitality, tourism, and sports industries. All of you are well aware by now of the historic run that we have had in the last 4 months. There's not another city in America that has hosted as many events as we have hosted. You know also, because of past press conferences, that we have another number of unprecedented conventions and events between now and next year. And it will not end up, but it will be part of the continuum that we will also host the Super Bowl. And New Orleans continues to remain on the list of cities that have hosted the most Super Bowls in America. As a part of that, one of the things that always came to the front as a dissatisfier is the level and quality of the ground transportation that we have in the city. Let me point out that part of that study also reflected that the individuals that drive the taxi cabs were not a dissatisfier. They were actually great ambassadors for the city of New Orleans, and I want to thank all of the individuals that drive the taxi cabs and that work in the ground transportation industry. The one thing that always stood out, whether it was the taxi cab drivers or the valets or our concierges or the individuals that work in the hotel motels, is we have the best individuals in the country that take care of tourists when they come here, and as a result of that, we're a very hospitable place. But having said that, as we drill down on dissatisfiers, one of the things that came to the fore was really shoring up that industry, make sure it was integrated, make sure it worked well. And so what we have done over the past year with Councilmember Gisleson Palmer's leadership as the chairman of the committee is really tried to think about what best practices were across the country. And we have introduced and asked the council to consider these recommendations as we move forward. Tourism, as you know, is an anchor for the city of New Orleans. It has become a symbol of resilience and recovery. And as we move to transform the Bureau and the industry, which has struggled mightily, I might add, both inside of City Hall and outside of City Hall in the last 5 or 6 years, we have now come forward, which we think are regulations and an organizational structure that will make sure that ground transportation is clean, it's safe, reliable, and affordable. And that really is the goal. We're now on the world stage. I've said many times it's New Orleans' time to shine. And we have been doing a very good job of it recently, from BCS to the Sugar Bowl to the Saints to the Mardi Gras Final Four, which is just on us, and as Navy Week, which is going to be spectacular, and then again the anchors, Jazz Fest, Essence Fest, Bayou Classic, Voodoo Fest, and the French Quarter Festival, I might add, which will continue to expand and grow. It's important that we have a 21st century ground transportation system, and that is what this is designed to do. As an antidote, we are also organizing ourselves to make sure that we are completely ready for the Super Bowl, and we have been conceptualizing something that we are now calling the hospitality zone. And this zone travels from the second that you come into the city of New Orleans, whether by ground or by air, to the second that you leave, and every place in between, to make sure that all of the stakeholders, national, federal, state, private, not-for-profit, that's got anything to do with how the city works or how the city looks, starts getting us ready for the unbelievable and unprecedented publicity that we are going to get so that the city shines again. I will note with some dismay that previous efforts to change have failed. Not this time. This time the stakes are too high. We have met with stakeholders for the last year. They have not all been pleasant meetings. They have not all been meetings that have ended in discord. It's been hard. We have listened, we have heard, we have adjusted where we could, and we have stood firm where we thought that it was very important. But being the best in the world doesn't come easy. It's something that we're going to have to struggle through in this city, and we begin to do that, but we have to keep moving forward. We have collaborated with as many people as we possibly can. We think that what we're proposing now is very reasonable and thoughtful, forward-leaning. We don't even think it's necessarily extraordinary. It falls comfortably in line with the best practices with our major competitors in Atlanta, in Las Vegas, in Chicago, in New York, in San Francisco, and the other places that we compete with for business that actually provide jobs and tax dollars to our residents. So we feel very good about the direction that we're moving in, and I look forward to working with all of the stakeholders in the industry, and especially the men and women who are our frontline ambassadors. So I thank you for that, and I want to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Michelle Thomas, who has helped lead this effort inside of City Hall. Michelle Thomas, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your visionary leadership and your courage to take on this important transformation. As you said, that for decades, efforts have been made to reform this industry, but I'm proud to stand with you today, moving this forward to making this vision a reality. The package of legislative reforms that we have pulled together can be divided into 5 broad areas: improving vehicle standards, creating exceptional standards for accessible taxicab vehicles, improving driver and CP&C holder standards, improving industry and permitting requirements, and implementing tough laws that actually govern the Bureau itself. With regard to improving vehicle standards, a request that we've received often, we propose measures that range from credit card machines that the passengers themselves can swipe their own cards, to GPS systems that will help the cab drivers get our passengers to where they would like to go. And while we already have a two-way radio requirement in the law, one of the things that we heard from taxicab drivers is that they have been concerned about using two-way radio dispatch for fear of their safety. And so in response to that, we are proposing a mandated security camera system be installed in all of the vehicles with a silent alarm feature that will notify dispatch in case of driver duress. A recent study by the hospitality industry found that 60% of our vehicles are more than 10 years old, which is not acceptable and certainly not a best practice. One of the proposed bills will require that taxicabs be in service for not more than 7 years beyond their original model year. And beginning in January of 2013, no applicant can propose to permit a new vehicle that is more than 5 years old. And beginning in January of 2014, no vehicle can be a taxicab in the city of New Orleans that is more than 7 years old. Additionally, there is a prohibition against salvaged vehicles and reconditioned vehicles. The reforms proposed in this package will make New Orleans a more attractive destination for travelers and will provide our residents with a more reliable and comfortable transportation option. In closing, I would also like to thank Councilmember Kristin Gisleson Palmer for her leadership and partnership in these efforts.
Thank you very much. Councilman Palmer.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
A more efficient, accessible, and sustainable transportation system for citizens and guests of New Orleans has always been a priority of mine since taking office. As chair of the City Council's Transportation Committee, I've been committed to improving the quality and service of our taxicab industry. Working in partnership with Mayor Landrieu and his administration, my committee and the City Council have been engaged with the ground transportation industry, neighborhood groups, the tourism and hospitality industry, and the restaurant industry from the beginning of our terms in office. We have already had great success in passing several pieces of legislation that expand our transportation options and improve taxicabs in our city. This partnership has resulted in the implementation of pedicab services, a taxicab passenger bill of rights, and the creation of permits for accessible taxicabs. There's still more to do, and now I stand in full support of all the reforms that have been introduced, and I will work tirelessly towards the passage of them. I would also like to personally thank Councilmember Susan Guidry, who has worked diligently and tirelessly on the Transportation Committee with us. And I would also like to acknowledge the incredible leadership of our mayor on this issue, as well as our Deputy Mayor, Michelle Thomas, and Director Malachi Hull. This is a world-class team, and we will have a world-class industry. So thank you. Oh, who is coming next? Mr. Malachi Hull. Oh, wait, no. Councilmember Guidry, you're on. Sorry. You're on.
Good morning, everyone. It's very exciting to be working on the Transportation Committee at a time when such great change is about to occur. I want the people in the industry to know that we are and will continue to be sensitive to their needs and sensitive to the stress that the amount of change that is occurring will have on them and on their finances and on their basically their way of doing their jobs. And we're going to be sensitive to that, and we are going to be open for discussion on the Transportation Committee about all of these changes and what works and what doesn't work. And so we hope that they will all keep an open mind as we work through this together. The bottom line on it, this is for all of us who grew up here. We know that this has been an area that has sorely needed change, and it is a lot of hard work to change it as an entire system, but we're determined to do that. The mayor's team has been wonderful, and the council, with the mayor's team and with the stakeholders, we're going to have success on this. So thank you.
Thank you. I came to say thank you. Having been a part of this for over 20 years, especially as councilwoman of District C, which included the French Quarter and a lot of the tourism area, I have been a part of the little bit of successes and the lots of failures. I came to say thank you first to the mayor for his not only vision and leadership, but courage. It takes a tough mayor with vision and courage. Thank you to Councilwoman Palmer, who not only has led this from the Transportation Committee, but as the district councilwoman that takes the grief that goes with this. And also to Councilwoman, been there and done that. Been there and done that. To Councilwoman Guidry, who's been a stalwart and supporter of hers on this committee. And as president of the council, it's an honor to stand here and look at so many friends in this room that I know have been a part of this for the entire 22 years that I have been. And today we are there. Thank you all for having been a part of it. And thank you again to the mayor and Ms. Palmer and our newest and best friend, Michelle Thomas, our deputy mayor, for the leadership and for we're finally over the goalpost. We have arrived. We're now in competition with the world-class industries of the rest of America in tourism. Thank you.
Good morning. The mayor has assembled a great team, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Since 2002, I've been blessed to serve as a public servant in the role of guiding transportation regulation. When I met with the mayor prior to assuming this position, he stressed several key points that were critical for New Orleans' success. One of them was restoring the public's confidence in the Bureau and restoring the industry's confidence in the Bureau. The second one was improving the public's perception of the for-hire industry. Another one was delivering dependable, accessible, and reliable transportation to the citizens, visitors, and workers of New Orleans. Finally, he wanted to cover ensuring taxicab service was consistent and predictable. We're proud to announce today that these ordinance changes set the foundation for New Orleans' success. We understand that New Orleans is a world-class destination, and our city demands world-class transportation. And it's our responsibility to exceed our customers' expectations. Thank you.
On behalf of the New Orleans Aviation Board, we look at ground transportation as an extension of the air transportation. So as we continue to do the work that we're doing at the airport, with working with our stakeholders, with our partners, making sure that we're running a top-class aviation operation there, we want to make sure that we're partnering in the proper way to make sure that once they leave our doors, that they leave and get into just another extension. And because we are the gateway to our visitors, the gateway for people who are coming back, or the first place that they go to when they're leaving, we want to make sure that we're a part of the reforms that are going to make this a much safer transportation opportunity, a more pleasant transportation opportunity. And I think without us doing it together, it actually doesn't work. So for us, this is just another reform issue that's going to allow us to be that world-class city that we're supposed to be, because we're doing it together. So on behalf of the New Orleans Aviation Board, Mr. Mayor, we appreciate your leadership on this, and you can certainly look for our support in adopting these wholeheartedly.
It's easy for us to think about what New Orleans represents to the rest of the world, and when I say that the most authentic and unique destination in all of the United States deserves the best taxicab experience that we can create, we know that these reforms will go in that direction. They're common sense, and they will help us ensure a quality customer experience, not only for our citizens but for the visitors that come to our great city. Local transportation has been a red flag when we speak to our visitors in our annual survey, and we believe that this will go a long way in taking that out of contention. Our visitors spend more than $5 billion a year in New Orleans, and a quality transportation experience will most certainly lead to even greater economic impact for our city. The implementation of such changes will be evidence to all of our visitors in the future that New Orleans is thriving on success and will continue to improve. We look forward to working with the mayor, his administration, Councilmember Palmer, and the rest of the council to support these reforms as we go through the necessary steps to accomplish this change. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to stand here as chairman of a Convention and Visitors Bureau and the 1,100 or so members that we represent in support of these reforms, and to thank the mayor for his leadership, the council, all the administrative people and deputy mayors who have done so much and worked so hard. The visitor experience in this city has continued to improve over the years, and there's been a lot of hard work from many, many sides to make that happen. To become a world-class destination is not easy, and as the mayor so correctly points out, this will not be easy either. But we do know that it is a very important step for us to take, a necessary step. And while we have some great things coming up, 2 weeks from the NCAA Final Four, less than a year from the Super Bowl. Don't forget that conventions and the convention visitor continue to be a huge part of the experience here. And I'd like to read this to you because it's a letter of support from our Customer Advisory Council, our most important customers who represent millions of dollars every year into this city. And what it says here is New Orleans is one of the most welcoming cities in America, but we would like to mention that taxicab reform is one of the major discussions and a huge decision-making factor when considering a city as a potential meeting destination. Keep that in mind. This is important, and this will go a long way. Thank you.
The Chamber is about business, and one of the top priorities that the Chamber has come up with for economic development for this year is taxicab reformation. I was city attorney for the city of New Orleans back during the 90s, and even back then we were trying to reform the taxicab industry. It's been I've had the unique opportunity to be regulator of the industry, but also I represented cab drivers in the past and cab companies, so I got to see it from both sides. Cab drivers, cab companies are the ambassadors for this city. They are the first people that the public comes in contact with, and they give the impression to the public of the city of New Orleans. So it's essential that we have best practices. It's essential that if we are to remain a world-class city, the taxicab industry has to be reformed. At our meeting yesterday, the Chamber Board was faced with several issues, deciding whether or not to take a position. When this issue came up, it was a no-brainer, and unanimously the Chamber supported and embraced the reforms that are going to go into effect. We are grateful to have the leadership of the mayor and the council to bring this critical issue forward, and we stand in full support. And thank you for the opportunity to have us participate today.
Rod Miller, CEO of the Knoll Business Lodge.
Good morning. New Orleans is by far the greatest American city. And whether we're looking at issues of us being a hub of culture, tourism, and business, or whether we're looking at all the great conventions that come to town, taxicab service is one of the first things that people see when they get here, and one of the last things that they see before they leave. And the reforms that are in place, or that are being put in place, really epitomize safety, accessibility, and sustainability. Safety for the taxicab drivers, safety for the consumers, whether it's the new cars, whether it's the making sure people get to where they need to get on time through the GPS systems, accessibility to make sure everybody has access to taxicabs, and sustainability. When we're talking about, image is a very important factor in determining how attractive a place is for conventions. Image is a very important factor in determining how attractive a city is for investment. And the image of our taxicab industry is not the image that we've wanted it to have. These reforms represent a major transformation, and really kudos to Mr. Mayor, the council, as well as the leadership in the administration of the city for making these bold steps. Thanks.
Let me just wrap up, and again, thank everybody for their hard work. Thank you all for recognizing our work, but really this is a group effort. This has been going on for a very, very long time. It actually goes back a very long way, as Chairman Aaron has said. But, we all know change is hard, but like Sam Cooke said, change is going to come. And it is here. And so we have to walk through it. We really got to stay focused on the customer experience in New Orleans and in the taxpayer experience. So I commend these to the public. I look forward to the council passing them, and I look forward to signing them, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Take one topic first, and then I know everybody has some important questions. So, Meg, and then we'll go to the show.
Who's going to be paying for the new cameras and the GPS devices and all of that in the house?
Okay, I'm going to let Malachi walk through that for you.
That responsibility will be on the CPMC holders, the owners of the taxi cabs.
And how do the cab drivers feel about these new reforms?
In our conversation with the cab drivers, we have a large portion of drivers that are in favor of it because it protects them. They're scared to work at night. Many of them stop working at probably 5 p.m. or whenever it gets dark. We know that that's when we actually need cabs, because individuals that are going to bars, they're going to be under the influence, they're going to need transportation. This is going to assist us in making sure that we have accessible vehicles or transportation accessible for individuals to get back home.
Michelle?
Looks like a lot of these changes are going to require increased enforcement. Malachi, I know we talked a few months ago, and you were significantly down on your total number of inspectors. Talk about what kind of staff on the bureau side this is going to require, and if more staff is going to be needed, how you're going to pay for that.
Let Michelle take that. Deputy Mayor of Operations.
We certainly have, over the past several months under Malachi's leadership, reorganized the way that we do business. In an ideal world, we would be able to hire significantly more employees, but our budget constraints won't allow that now. But what we have done is reorganize the way that we do work, the way that we do inspections, the way that we respond to customer complaints, the way that we conduct our hearings, and kind of adjudicate the different cases that come before us. And so what we're finding is that we're a lot more efficient than we were a year ago, and we believe that we have the capacity today to do what we need to do in order to enforce these changes.
And I think with some of the recent protests and stuff, I mean, I think what you've seen is that we've been enforcing the existing ordinances now, which wasn't going on before.
So again, just broadly, Michelle, because you've been covering us since the beginning, you've heard me and you teased me a little bit about it. Cut, reorganize, invest. That's our strategy to make the government work better. Yesterday, as you know, I was in Washington, D.C. With President Obama going over the work that's been done in 6 cities that are part of a pilot program that he initiated called Strong Cities, Strong Communities, SC2. And the whole focus of it is to try to make sure that both the federal, state, and local governments, both horizontally and vertically, are completely integrated, and that we get more for less, because everybody knows it's getting smaller. You've heard me say this 1,000 times. I'll say it again. The world's getting smaller, right? The financial pressures are greater. We have to make government work better with the resources that we have, and we have squeezed, I think, a lot of resources out of this building, and we'll continue to make it more efficient and more effective, focused on taxpayers and focused on consumers' experiences.
Why do you think in this case, I mean, several people mentioned the failure of previous efforts to overhaul the taxicab industry. Why is it going to work this time?
Well, I don't know why it failed in the past.
I do.
And so other people, and I'll let Jackie speak to that if she chooses to.
I do.
But one of the things that we've tried to do since we've been here is, number one, to not tackle a problem that wasn't important, to not shy away from a problem that was important. We have tried to bring stakeholders in from the beginning, and we have tried to make the difficult transformational choices that refocus the city on foundations that matter. That's a principle of governing that you see running through everything that we have done. Secondly, we work very, very hard not to embark on something that we cannot succeed at. And so as we came in, there was an investigation of the Taxi Bureau going on. We cooperated fully with the U.S. Attorney and the Inspector General, and that is taking its course. We brought in a gentleman who I think understands the business really, really well and has a great track record, although he was born here, I think, weren't you, Malachi? He spent a little time in Atlanta before we got him back. And thirdly, we set about methodically, planning what we thought was the right thing to do and the right way to do it. And we have, in fact, engaged all of the stakeholders, including the drivers and the owners. You're never going to get unanimity on any issue, but we have tried very, very hard to build consensus. And where we don't have consensus, we will have a robust argument in the democratic process as it was designed in the City Council. And what makes its way to my desk, I'll give full consideration to. But as the mayor, I've set out some very clear objectives, and I think Malachi said them very eloquently. It's very, very important that we realize that the taxicab industry is part of a much, much larger industry. They are important in and of themselves, but they are a part of an engine of economic growth and development in this city that in many places is second to none in the United States of America. The tourism industry in the city of New Orleans provides about $80 thousand jobs. It's a $5 billion industry, and we think that we can grow it exponentially higher if we get the basics right. And the basics mean specifics. From the second that you get off of an airplane, to where you walk out, to what bathroom you go to how your baggage claim works, to what taxi cab you get, to where that person takes you, to the road that you drive on, to the visual that you come into the city, from the hotel, from the exit that you get off of, Bob, at the bottom of that piece, right, to the Convention Center Boulevard, all the way to the valet, all the way into your hotel room, to what restaurant you go to, how you're treated when you get there, back out of the city, et cetera, et cetera. That entire piece has to work very, very well. And all of the component parts, do you understand how vast this is? All of the component parts have to work really, really well. That's why all these individuals are sitting up here, because we know that we don't have that as good as it can be. And we know that we have to set the standard internationally because, as Melvin has said, and as a number of other people, Fred said, that when you are talking to individuals that are bringing huge books of business here, from Microsoft to whoever it is may be, and they're bringing 35,000 people or 25,000 people or 16, they're actually, when you sit in a room, if you haven't done this, you should do it, and they look line by line. What's the book on taxi cabs in New Orleans? What's the book on rates? What's the book on, restaurants? What's the book on this, and this? And how do we compare in today's very competitive market? So this is a big team that we have in the city of New Orleans, and I'm telling you that the folks that drive the taxi cabs are a very, very, very important part of it. Some individuals that we have a tremendous amount of respect for, but we got to step our game up. We got to play on a different level, and we're not where we need to be. And we will continue to work with them to make sure that we do this in a way that makes sense for them and for us. And at the end of the day, and always, for the customer and for the taxpayer.
You talked about bringing together all the stakeholders, including the drivers, also saying that, throughout this process, where you could make adjustments, you did, listening to them. Then in other places, you had to stand firm. Could you specifically give us some examples of where you took their input and made some?
Sure. I'm going to let Malachi and Michelle, because they led the negotiations for us, if you might. Michelle, you want to? Either one.
One of the things that we actually made considerations on was, for example, the age limit requirements. As Michelle said, effective immediately or when the ordinance passes, vehicles can no longer be over 10 years old. Effective January 1st, 2014, vehicles can no longer be older than 7 model years. But beginning January 1st, 2013, a vehicle that's placed in service cannot be more than 5 years old. If you look at some of the top echelon cities like New York and Boston, vehicles that are placed in service are brand new. Those vehicles are coming offline 3 years. For corporate vehicles that operate all day, in New York, for an individually owned operated vehicle, that vehicle comes offline in 5 years. So we've taken those things into consideration. Even though our standards are high, we're in line with San Francisco, Miami, Miami, San Francisco, Houston, and Atlanta.
Yeah, what do you say to the perspectives of those in the taxi cab industry who said that the costs are becoming unbearable to them? And specifically, they've talked to me about credit cards not being allowed at the taxi cab bureau, so they feel that that change is hypocritical, and also that they've been trying to get a surcharge for fuel costs for quite some time, and they don't feel that City Hall is listening.
Okay.
With regard to the issue of credit cards being accepted for non-tax payments, that is actually something that is in the process of being implemented. So by the time the cab drivers will have to have credit card machines in their vehicles, we'll have credit card machines in City Hall for licenses and permits as well. So that's a non-issue. What was your other question?
Surcharge on fuel.
Surcharge. We haven't done a rate study. Rates were most recently increased in 2009, and there have been over the past couple of decades consistent and substantial increases in the rates. And so we will conduct a rate study to determine whether or not the rates are fair. But from our survey of other cities, we think that the rates are where they should be.
Anything else on taxis? Meg?
So would it be safe to say that the cab drivers probably won't be protesting during the Final Four weekend as they had threatened to do, I think as recently as 2 weeks ago?
I don't know whether they will or not. We have the capacity to handle the crowds that are coming in. I hope they don't. But
And then Eileen.
Any estimate of how much the drivers will have to pay for the credit card swipe machine and for the other improvements?
so, Malachi, you want
It
to?
necessarily won't be the drivers themselves. I think all the kind
The
of
CPNC holder. That's different from the driver.
It's about $2,000 total over the course of a period of time.
Okay. All right.
Good job.
Thank you. All right. If y'all want to, you want to do off topic, you want to do pull asides, which I'm happy to do if y'all have other stuff, but I hate to burden these guys with their time. I'll do pull asides if y'all want to talk about other stuff. All right, you guys and ladies.